Welcome to that's what I was.
I knew you were gonna do it. I knew that's what you were gonna do. You're a piece of shit. God damn it. You knew what I was waiting for? God, I fucking hate you.
Keep this in for the outtakes.
Maybe.
It's actually really good.
Possibly.
Man, you made me wait for that one.
I saw you staring forward, like waiting for me to say something.
All right, continue. It's your show, right?
Welcome to You're Not Wrong, where I gather my friends and try to get them to stop wasting all their time on our chat room. Mark.
I honestly could do without chatting with you
I
guys.
know. Mark is
Accused.
almost never in our chat. Tony and I are mostly the ones chatting. Where I try to get them to talk about the things that we talk about in our chat, and they usually tell me, well, you're not wrong, but you're not 100% right either. I'm your host, the fat jack of all trades. Press pause, Mike. To my left, my co-host, the history himbo, Mark the Bo Staffman, and to my right, the scatterbrained Tony Durkamfer. How you doing, boys?
Great. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm just, ready to sit here and talk about music with you guys.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, cool. Tony, how are you?
A little bit more tired this week than it has been lately, but I think that's because, my brain and how. That's because of my brain and how it works sometimes. So.
Oh, yeah, the scatter brain, right?
Yeah.
Is in the intro.
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, the best times for me to think is when I'm lying down in bed.
Yeah.
And you could see how that's a problem sometimes.
We're amateurs anyway.
I like this.
It's fine. So, Mark, what did you pause to do this podcast today?
Wow, Mike, thanks for asking.
Jesus Christ.
I same as last time. I played tennis this morning. It's a Saturday ritual at this point.
It's a ritual. We burn candles. And
But in a broader sense, I wanted to mention. Tony, you brought it up, I think, in our chat earlier this week. But I've been also playing The Outer Worlds.
Oh,
Yeah.
About 10 or 11 hours into that. So pretty cool so far. It literally is Fallout in space.
Fallout in space.
Yeah, because I got my Xbox finally.
Oh, that's right. You got your Series S.
Yeah, Series S.
Welcome to the next generation.
He's part of the next generation.
And I've been reading Berserk. I don't know if I mentioned that last
You did
time.
say that last time. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm on like volume 8 or 9.
The manga?
Yeah, the manga.
I thought about after.
Shit gets dark in that.
Speaking of
Yeah.
have you seen the trailer for? I think it's called Chainsaw Man, or something like that.
No, I've seen a bunch of people talking about.
I've seen a
There's
lot of people
trailer out?
talking about the manga for a long time, and a trailer came out I think
For an
last
anime,
week.
right?
Yeah, for an anime, it came out last week, and I want to kind of hold. I don't want to read the manga now since the anime is coming out so quickly.
When is it coming out?
I believe October-ish.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna wait for the anime, and then depending on how I feel about the anime, I may just blaze through the manga. I don't know how I feel about that yet, because it looks weird. It looks gruesome, but also really heartfelt. I don't know what's going on in that manga story, so I'm just like really interested. All right, I have no idea. Tony, what did you pause to do this podcast today?
Let's see. One of those things is basically thinking about, like I said in the chat not long ago, this subject that we're going to be talking about fairly soon kind of got me down in a rabbit hole of wondering, so how come I got why some genres of music stuck with me more than others? And I'll explain it a little bit more in detail, but not too much, because after all, I don't want to monopolize time. But other than that, just really a little bit more MLB The Show and The Outer Worlds as well. I'm still kind of trying to get in the flow of the game, so to speak.
How far in are you roughly?
I'm still in the geothermal power plant mission.
Okay.
Gibberish to me. No idea what you're talking about.
That's early.
That's the first place you're in.
Yeah, I'm picking the game up from. I had been playing it months ago, and I picked it back up. Yeah, But yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
I've also picked up and played Returnal.
That's right. You bought Returnal certainly after last time we.
I tried
recorded.
that the other day.
Yeah, it's an interesting genre mash. It's like sci-fi procedural bullet hell.
Have you made it far?
I beat a boss. I ended up going to a desert stage.
Okay, so you're in the second biome then.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that puts me roughly where you were at.
You are a little bit before. I haven't finished that biome yet, but I think you're basically where I'm at. Yeah. Yeah, that game's hard. Fun, but hard. I paused. I believe I played Skull, The Last Hero.
What's that?
That's a Hades style game. What do you call it? Rogue light, or I don't know which one it is. I hate the terminology for roguelike and roguelite because they sound exactly the same and they're both exactly the goddamn same except for one small thing, which makes sense to why they sound the same. Anyway, I play a little bit of that. It's tedious. It's so annoying, but it's fun. It's kind of Metroidvania, kind of Hades, and it's really cool. I like
throwing out a lot of lingo here, man.
Yeah, I know. Video games.
Metroidvania, roguelite.
Dark Souls. No, I can't.
It's the Dark Souls.
It's the Dark Souls
roguelikes. Isn't Dark Souls kind of? No.
Nah, it's an entity of its own.
Metroidvania-ish, but not.
Definitely Metroidvania.
Yeah, but not roguelike. Because roguelike and never mind.
Yeah,
we'll we'll have a podcast on the
basically no procedural generation in Dark Souls whatsoever.
Getting to know you.
So, boys, I set you guys to task last week, or last few weeks, I think, because we haven't recorded for 2 weeks now. I asked you each to not necessarily list, but go through your favorite artists, songs, and albums. Now, did everybody complete their homework?
No.
Yes.
I didn't even try.
Mark,
Just kidding.
You automatically failed.
I made a list. I made 3 lists.
You failed the class.
I've made
You're going
3
to
lists.
detention.
Suspend me while you're
suspended.
at it.
You know what? You're expelled.
Great.
Have you ever been suspended?
No.
Really?
Suspended? No.
Wow.
I've been to detention.
You ever been suspended?
Yes, I have.
What did you do?
Remember, I was an impulsive person, and I also was not liked by a lot of people when I, in the city I lived in before I went.
Oh, this is before. Okay.
But no, I was suspended too. I got into a fight.
Damn.
You had to fight.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
it was the only one I ever had.
Our middle school.
Oh.
Interesting. All right. I've been suspended 3 times, I think.
I'm a pacifist, so I never got in any fights.
I don't believe that for a hot second. You never got in any fights?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. All right, and we're getting off topic. God damn it. All right, so
Circle around.
as per your homework, how would you like to start this? Who wants to go first? Who wants to? Which topic do you want to hit first? The song, artist, or album?
I don't know. I kind of just feel like freewheeling it, free flowing, free riding it.
I feel like, and this is not a slight, but I feel like, Tony, you're probably going to have the most diverse list compared to Mark and I, who I think have slightly similar tastes. So I want to start with...
How dare you imply that we have similar tastes whatsoever?
Ouch. Man.
No,
all right,
we
you know,
do.
our tastes
We
are fucking
kinda do.
so far off.
We kind of do.
So let's start with your favorite. Let's go top 5, and not in any order, because I was going to have a conniption trying to order these. Top 5 favorite artists, and give me a why for your number, for what you would consider your favorite artist.
I actually have this broken down. I'm not kidding. Between like solo artists and bands. So
Really? Okay.
because I found out something for myself is that I don't listen to a lot of solo musicians. So I kind of felt like I needed to differentiate between solo musicians and band acts.
Oh.
And no lie here, because you know, you've known me long enough and I've been here long enough that basically I have routines and habits. It turns out those routines and habits carry over to music tastes. So the things I listen to are things are musicians I listen to habitually.
Okay, I've known you for
39 years.
very close. Let's see. I'm going to be 33. I'm going to be 33. God damn it. I think I've known you for
58.
about 20 years, maybe a little less than 20 years.
So like so 90 since 95, 96, I think.
98.
Okay.
That's 23 years.
Thank you. Jesus Christ, 23 years. Oh my God. All right. So I'm going to play a little game with myself here.
Go
As a
for
matter
it.
of fact, I'm probably going to do the same with you.
Sorry.
I know what you were thinking. Shut up. Dirty mind. God damn it. All right. I'm going to guess. I think I know at least one artist. I think you have Pearl Jam on there.
That would be a no.
Damn. All right. Go ahead with your list.
Wow.
Damn. Tell me your list and tell me your favorite.
Okay. So let's go with this. I would say number 5 would be Metallica.
Okay.
It was my father got me into heavy metal and got me into metal at a young age.
That tracks.
And it's something I just kind of rolled with it. It's one of those moments where the first time I encountered, for lack of a better term, Metallica was when the song Enter Sandman was played at our middle school dance.
Probably their most famous song, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I'd say so, yeah.
It's yeah, I think so. Now, Mario and Rivera, who used to be the closer for the Yankees, walked out to Enter Sandman. And funny story, I ended up going onto the stage at the cafeteria and started just doing headbanging.
Okay. So first off, we got Metallica. All right, give me your number 4. Not really numbered, but I get what you're going for. Give me number 4.
Animals as Leaders.
I have no idea who that is.
Neither do I.
It is basically a progressive metal / experimental band that's headed by a virtuoso guitarist, Tosin Abasi.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, because I talked to him. I told you about him. He plays an 8-string guitar, and he plays the guitar in a lot of ways that I'm never really heard ever. And the first song I heard from Abasi was an Infinite Regression, I believe.
Infinite Regression.
More on that later, like for song recommendations and all that.
Sounds like that's on the list.
Kind of got me thinking, okay, this sounds like a video game combined with a rock concert.
Okay.
And it's also I think one of the first times I heard of the expression math rock.
Okay. Math
me too.
rock. All right. This is a first for 2 people on this desk. Wow. Math. You know what? I don't want you to explain math rock. We'll get to that in another episode.
Okay.
Give me your number.
Tune in later for the math rock
for
episode.
math rock. Give me your number 3.
Jimi Hendrix.
Nice.
I'm kind of surprised.
Oh.
I'm surprised you didn't predict that first.
Awesome.
Should have, but I thought Pearl Jam was. I thought it was a lock. I don't know
That's
why.
great. We love to hear it.
So we got some cross
One
here.
of the reasons why I actually picked up a guitar in the first place was because of Jimi Hendrix.
Hell
That
yeah.
is very common.
I think many people, yeah.
I also became very obsessed with getting his at least a Fender Stratocaster, which is the guitar that he plays. Never got my hands on it.
Really?
It's okay because Fender Stratocasters are pretty expensive.
They are. I have a Squire Strat if you ever want to play one.
You see, I tried playing Squire Strats at a lot of places. It's just for some reason just never stuck with me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
not,
because
you know.
the gravitas.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between playing an Epiphone Les Paul and a Gibson Les Paul.
There is a different feel between Squire and Fender, for sure.
okay.
As a bass player, I can tell you that.
Yeah, but long story short, Hendrix was a genius with the guitar in my mind. Like, one of the best rhythm guitarists I've ever heard, even now. He's really good at improving. Maybe not the best singer, but the truth be told, that's probably was never what Hendrix was going for in the first place.
So is this your only solo, or are you considering Jimi Hendrix and the Experience as a complete?
I think you could basically. I think this applies to both Jimi Hendrix, the solo album, soloist, and the Jimi Hendrix Experience band in general.
Okay. All right, Tony, give me your number 2, but we're not going to get your number 1. We're going to get over to Mark after that. So give me your number 2.
So this one was a bit of a tough one for me, but it's Led Zeppelin.
Oh, very cool.
That's what I should have guessed.
Yeah, that's oddly enough, considering my mother's music tastes, this was the one that got me down. This was the one that really got me down the track.
That track.
It's like Metallica. It's like Metallica was basically the opening the door, and Led Zeppelin was the band that took me through it, so to speak.
Nice.
I'll give you the recommendation of the album, which kind of sent me in that direction.
Okay.
Once we start talking about it.
Fair.
But just everything about the band is on point. It really is. Between you see, I mix them in my head. Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, because I believe Robert Plant. Robert Plant. I think was the singer because I think he had he collaborated with Alison Krauss on a couple of albums, and Jimmy Page is the guitarist.
Yeah. Great bassist and drummer too.
John Bonham.
John Bonham and John Paul Jones. Just an all-around like powerhouse of a band there.
Yeah. The case in point. Let's see. I believe that when Led Zeppelin was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, one of the songs that was played was "Stairway to Heaven," and I believe it was John Bonham's son who was playing the drums, and it was Nancy and Wilson from Heart.
From Heart,
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Who ended up playing that. By the way, the fact that they're still playing, like Nancy and Ann Wilson, are really is a testament to their staying power.
Okay, Mr. Mark, our resident himbo.
Thank you.
Aspiring.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We
Aspiring.
set up last week. I'm
He's
aspiring.
an aspiring himbo. All right,
I don't know
Mark,
if that's a good thing to aspire to.
yeah, well, give me your 5, 4, 3, and 2.
Man,
don't-
I went into this not expecting to have a ranked list.
I know Tony did that, but that's fine. It's fine. We can do that.
So this is hard. I wasn't expecting as much carryover between lists. I don't think I had a good sense of what music you listened to, Tony. So this was kind of cool to hear your top 5, and see that there's a little bit of definitely genre similarities. Maybe some names might reappear.
It was really difficult because after all, we're talking about top 5.
Yeah.
If it was top 3, it would have been even harder. It probably would be like, no, we can't.
So
I had a sneaking suspicion that now after that, I have a sneaking suspicion that your lists are going to be somewhat similar, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be the outlier. But
maybe
that's okay.
Maybe I peeked at your list as it was sitting there. So I can tell you probably my top 3 are in more of like a ranked order. I feel like 5 and 4. I honestly, I'm kind of just shooting from the hip here. I'm kind of just going with how I feel in the moment. This is a list that changes. I feel like on the daily.
I get that Tony ranked, and it's fine. I'm still not telling you to rank. But how about this? The only one you need to rank is number one.
Okay.
Right. So number 1 is the only one you have to keep in mind as your last.
Whew. I think I know the number 1.
Okay.
The number 1's been pretty steady for a long
Interesting.
time.
I'd be
now.
interested to hear that one.
It's probably the only one.
Say it with
that's
me.
Stayed steady. Everything else is always. in
I'm
flux.
now guaranteed each of our number 1s is different. Almost guaranteed.
Well, I can tell you my number 1 is probably not going to be the same as Tony's.
All right. So 5
are
through
definitely
2.
not.
Yeah, 5 through 2.
5, 4, 3, 2. What?
What?
Oh, I thought you were doing a countdown.
3, 4, 3.
Number
Two,
one.
one. Let's jam.
Ooh, I could do I could do, oh wait, I said number one.
Oh, let's get a clean slate and don't do number 1. Let's get a clean
Number
slate.
one. Wait, what?
No, clean slate.
Number 50.
Wow. Just kidding. We're gonna be here for a while.
I have the right voice. I feel like for one, like if we did a
You
list
do,
video.
and we will be doing that.
Number 10.
We will be doing that. Go ahead. Number 5.
Number 5. The Rolling Stones. Now, I was thinking about this one earlier today, actually. So I think there's a line in Pulp Fiction where Mia Wallace asks John Travolta's character, or says something, or somebody in this scene makes the comment, "You're either a Beatles person or an Elvis person."
Yep.
I feel like you're either a Beatles person or a Rolling Stones person.
I could agree with that.
And I have respect for the Beatles, and I like some of their music. I would say one of their albums, which I'll probably mention later, is one of the greatest albums of all time. However, I'm a Rolling Stones person.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is probably by virtue of them having a longer career together than the Beatles by far.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
Some would say a little bit too long, but
Some
that's
would
neither
say
here nor
this.
there.
A lot would say
but I mean, if you look just at their early '70s output alone, I think this, I think Exile on Main Street, one of their albums, is just one of the greatest rock albums I've ever heard. And yeah, just a lot of great music. And I just love their whole vibe and everything.
Okay.
Very, very cool rock and roll vibe.
And also, circling it back to video games, Gimme Shelter was played in I believe was the name. Actually, the Sympathy for the Devil was played during one of the missions of Call of Duty Black Ops, one of the first games, I think.
You might be right. I don't know.
We are non-shooters
Sympathy for
here.
the Devil, Gimme Shelter. Definitely Gimme Shelter. I've seen, I think that's in like multiple like Vietnam War movies. So it definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like songs like Wild Horses, like I feel like show like just a lot of variety to like their style and everything. Angie, like they can do soft, they can do hard. Like I really like the Rolling Stones. I think
Okay.
Mick Jagger is one of the greatest frontmen of all time. I mean, that's a pretty safe
Painted
statement.
Black for Twisted Metal Black also.
Ooh, yes.
That's
Also in a lot of Vietnam War movies in the end credits to Full Metal Jacket. So that's my number 5.
Number 5. Number 4.
Number 4, man, this is just tough. I don't know, man.
Remember, you're only really ranking number 1. So just try to get that off your chest.
I know number 1. That's not the problem.
All right.
And I feel good about 2 and 3.
Okay.
But choosing number 4 here, I feel like I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna go with the one that's been there longer for me. It's one that oftentimes I feel like falls out of the ranking for me. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I have like a love-hate relationship with Pink Floyd. Is that a weird thing to say?
You have a
Why are you shocked by that? Am I being too critical of this group that I ranked number 4 on my
continue
on my list?
Please continue.
Pink Floyd, from really the song Echoes through the end of the album The Wall, is one of the greatest bands of all time. But honestly, they have a lot of other stuff that I just don't care for, especially later output after The Wall. I don't care about any of their music after The Wall. Controversial hot take right there. I do not care about any Pink Floyd music made after The Wall. And honestly, my opinion on The Wall is constantly in flux too. I think it's a great album, but I don't think a lot of people rank it as their best. I don't think it's their best. But stuff like
probably Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, and The Wall are all amazing albums. And the song Echoes, if you haven't ever watched it, you can find it on YouTube. There was a Pink Floyd performing live at Pompeii, and they perform a few songs, but they perform Echoes live at an amphitheater in Pompeii. There's no audience. but it is really great. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
I'm sorry. When you say there's no audience, they're performing just for themselves.
It was recorded, but
they're just
it's
recorded
like
live
It's like a
album.
live
I
music
get you.
video
Okay,
kind of
okay,
thing.
okay.
It's like a 20-minute song or something like that.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
A lot of mostly instrumental. It's very cool.
Considering my list.
Highly recommend watching. I feel like that song is the beginning of they have a lot of great earlier output too. But I feel like Echoes kind of really informs stuff like Dark Side of the Moon, the Shine On You Crazy Diamond, all that stuff. So that's my number 4. I'm sorry for plopping that one out there like so controversially.
I feel weird about my list right now, but go ahead.
Why?
No, you know what?
no,
Give me
We'll
number
get to it.
number 3.
Number 3.
Tres.
It's technically 2 groups.
I think, but
They
really,
don't count. They are often talked about as one. My number 3 is Parliament Funkadelic.
that's what I thought you were gonna
I
say.
thought it was going to be. You knew it was going to be
Yeah.
on the list.
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
I
Technically 3 groups,
I got
so that's
into them
okay.
around high school. I think I saw like it was like one of those like documentaries on like PBS or something. They were talking about like rock music through the years or whatever, and they got to the funk episode, and I was like, "What? This is so cool!" And that pretty much is the way I feel about it now. What? This is so freaking cool! Like, they just have some amazing songs that I just love that I can listen to like over and over and over again. Like Bopka and like is. One I showed Mike, Funkin' for Fun. I remember that one because you were like, I've never heard this.
I've actually never heard
This
that.
is a great
And
song.
I've listened to them all my life.
Same vocalist on both of those songs. Glenn Goins, he died very young, but just some great vocals on a few of their songs. Really good vocalists.
Wow.
But that whole group, there's so many members, so many influences, so many people bringing like their A game constantly, and
They were extremely
wow.
ahead of their time.
yeah, ahead of their time. Very prolific. You know, a lot of stuff released during that time. Just a lot of good music. Yeah.
Okay,
If you're looking for
okay.
just something.
I'm getting very shocked here. I'm glad I did this for the
this
second.
shocking?
This is kind of all right. Anyway, number 2.
Number 2 is Stevie Wonder. Is that shocking? Are you surprised by that?
Considering the rest of your list, actually, I am a little shocked, but only a little bit. But go ahead.
Considering the rest of my list.
That's only that's it's just my weird perception of things.
I've seen Stevie Wonder live, which was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a few years ago. He was performing at the time the whole Songs in the Key of Life album. Great show. Great album. One of my favorite albums of all time. I don't know what more there is to say. I also really like Talking Book. It's my second favorite album of his. That is a good... that album, if you're looking for a good album after a breakup, that is the one. Because it starts off, everything's great, and then everything sucks, but it ends with hope. The final song is a hopeful song. It's, I believe, when I fall in love next time, it will be forever. Which I think is a good, just a good outlook on, things like that. But yeah, so those are my top 4.
I feel so
Leaving
weird.
out number 1 for later.
I feel so extraordinarily weird about my list right now. Because I feel
Why?
like I put in so much thought to my list, and
Are you implying we did?
No. Everybody did. No. So I'm sorry. Didn't mean to put it that way. I know everybody here put in so much thought to the list, and so did I. And I honestly, before doing my list, I would have expected it to look more like yours.
Interesting. Yeah, I know what you mean. We have very similar tastes.
And I mean, I know, knowing what I picked, I knew your list wasn't gonna look anything like mine, and I knew neither of your lists gonna look anything like mine.
Yeah.
But I did think going into this that it was going to look a lot more like yours. And as I sat down, basically for like an entire day, going through my entire
24
library,
hours.
pretty much. Like I almost I woke up and just like played music and like I'm just gonna go through it. I after that I'm like, wow, my music has hit a more modern tone than I would have expected, knowing personally that I am a very much old soul.
Yeah.
Like I love old music, but none of that old music is my favorite, which is strange.
I didn't expect that,
It is
honestly.
very strange to say that.
Because we've talked about music a lot, and
Yeah.
I did not get that read. But
It could also be because living in the time. Modern rock is more personal. We're living in the times versus where there's a sort of sense of disconnection between, like, we can't live in those old times.
Right.
We're living vicariously through them through the song.
Yeah.
Right. Like as a
True.
But
I mean, in a lot of ways, music is, kind of like can be timeless. You know?
as
Oh, yeah.
It's when it's in the time you discover it that the meaning is
right.
generated. I would
Right.
say.
Exactly. Because I talked to my dad about music, which I hope to get him on the podcast at some point in time. Talking about music, growing up, my list would have been, top to bottom would have been Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and so on and so forth. And looking at my list now, and I'm looking at it and thinking to myself, I love those artists, those two artists I just mentioned. I love those two artists, but I wouldn't consider them my top 10 favorite artists. And there's a reason for that makes a lot of sense because, and I'll just plain say it, I've never listened to their full gambit of music, which is why I wouldn't consider them my favorite. The artists that I've listened to their full gambit of music. I'm like, there's a reason I like this artist because I grew up, it has meaning. Like Tony said, it has a meaning behind it. That's the reason that it resonates with me. So it's just weird listening to your list and listening to Tony's list. I grew up with Tony and I grew up with you for the last over 10 years, basically.
Actually.
And thinking that obviously I definitely live vicariously through people because I'm antisocial. And it's just strange. It's just strange to hear this, and I don't know why it's strange because I know your music taste, and it's not your list. Your list isn't shocking. I know your music taste, although I wouldn't have picked a lot of the. Obviously, I didn't know most of the songs, the artists that you said.
Never heard of Jimi Hendrix.
I mean, Hendrix. Who's Hendrix? That's
Mike,
so
you
weird.
get. I know,
Do you play with his feet?
Mike. You gave me an album of Jimi Hendrix.
I
one
did
day.
give you an.
That was with the Band of Gypsies.
Oh
Sorry
my
for
god, I love that album. It's one of the best live.
Okay, so my 5, 4, 3, and 2. I will start with number 5. Would be Jay-Z. Weird.
Not surprising to me.
So Jay-Z is easily the best rapper to have come out in the last 20 years.
Well, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to argue.
And I say that only as a hot take for a reason because I think that Biggie and Tupac are the two most overrated musicians to ever be mentioned in music.
Well,
Now that's controversial for a lot of people.
That's longer ago than 20 years. Hate to break it to you, buddy.
We're in 2021. Oh
So
my
you'd be
God, that's
right.
much
You
longer than
could've-
20
You
years.
could have left out those two, and you would have still been right.
Oh my God, I'm feeling older by the second.
So you would rank Jay-Z above them? Is he the greatest rapper of all time? Or I don't want to spoil if there's anything further.
No, there's
down
nothing
your
further
list.
down the line.
Okay.
It's tough to say that there's someone better. The closest iteration you would get would be Eminem, and I wouldn't even say it's close. It's him, and it's him, and then everybody else.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
And I love Eminem. Obviously not on my list, but it's that's number 5 is Jay-Z. Number 4. Looking at my list here, I have to narrow this down.
looking at it too. I shouldn't
It's fine because I think you only know like 2 people on this list anyway.
What?
3 people, 4 people. 4
I
people.
know a good portion of this list, even if I don't listen to them frequently.
It's weird because I think a lot of my current music
Everybody
tastes.
on this list.
Do you?
No,
Oh,
except for
I've
two.
introduced you to
There's
some people
2
on
I
this list.
don't know.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean,
It's fine. It's fine. A lot of my musical tastes have come out of the last, we'll say, 5 years. It doesn't necessarily show in who I'm going to pick for this next artist because but it did kind of help. A friend of mine, and it'll show in albums. A friend of mine got me into Pink Floyd, whom I almost listed as being in the top 5.
if he hears this, he's gonna be mad that I like how I ranked
No,
them
I
number 4.
think he would be fine with what you said because after you said that, I looked
They're
at
number 4 on my list.
No. I'm sorry. You're
I
right.
know. I know.
But I looked at
Wow, voice got really high.
each of the albums that you mentioned are the only albums I've listened to. And when you said
The only
everything
ones.
after that point is like, oh,
You can listen to
That's
stuff before that. I just don't recommend stuff after them. Sorry. Sorry, Danny.
you're probably right. My number 4.
I usually am. Just kidding. Number 4. Let's hear it.
My number 4 That's a long dramatic.
Yeah.
It's a long dramatic pause.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Ugh. Yuck. Outkast.
Ooh.
Now
That's
I
a
know
good
I
one.
said Jay-Z is the best rapper, and it's true. He is. Outkast isn't better than him. Better than him. Sorry. But as far as music and my music taste goes, I think Outkast is far and away better. Wow, is better in my eyes than he is.
Yeah.
Only because of the again the timing of which everything came out. Listening to Speaker Box of Love Below, which is their last great album, and listening to Stankonia and Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music and all that is it's different when you listen to things matters a lot. And when I listened to Speaker Box of Love Below, I think I was 17 and going through a lot of emotions listening to the Love Below, and then going through more emotions listening to Speaker Box. And yeah, I just consider them a lot better than Jay-Z. Only in my opinion. Again, I still believe Jay-Z is the better rapper. Outkast is just better for me.
Well, I'm right, and it's two guys, right?
Yes.
What is it? It's Andre 3000 and who's the other
Big
guy?
Boy.
Big Boy, yeah. And then they kind of explored like different sounds and stuff too.
Right. So their initial albums are definitely them as a duo, rapping, basically battle rapping kind of back and forth. And when they did release their, I guess, final album, yeah, I guess
Is the
Speaker
word
Box.
penultimate, is that final?
Yeah.
What's that word?
Speaker Box Level Below is their final album where they decided to basically each do.
Is that what Hey Ya's on?
Yes.
Yes.
Basically, they each one did their own solo album, but make it a double album.
Yeah.
Because Andre was trying to do his own thing, just split out, and he wanted to act, and he didn't really want to do much music anymore, as far as I know. I could be wrong. But The Love Below is one of the best R&B hip hop albums I've ever heard. It's not on my list, but it is one of the best R&B hip hop albums I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And Speaker Box is just a great hip hop album as a whole. Big Boy is great, not so much on his own because he's done like 3 or 4 solo albums and they have not been good.
No.
I think a lot of hip hop lovers would definitely disagree, but I don't think they're good.
But that's what happens sometimes, that lightning in a bottle when you get 2 people or a few people together. You can't necessarily replicate it alone.
I think the whole Dungeon Family and Goody Mob thing that they had before they were Outkast was literally lightning in a bottle. Like when they hit Outkast status and they're like, all right, friends, let's go. Let's bring the organized music and everybody's going to do your own album. And it was a fun time at the time. I think it was like 96 through like 2000, 2005 or 2006 or something like that. It was a time for hip hop as a whole.
It's kind of like the case with the Beatles. The music sounded differently once John Lennon was gone.
The Beatles, again, an artist I hadn't listened to until the last, I'll say, it's 2020. Yeah, I first listened to them, like actually listened to them. I've heard the Beatles, obviously. I'm 33 years old. I've heard the Beatles all my life. But I first actually listened to them when I was 30 years old. So 3 years ago. I listened to 4 albums back to back.
That was the first time, other than like hearing songs.
Other than
I
hearing
guess,
songs.
in passing, yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
So I was my impression of the Beatles was this is getting off of the list, but it's fine. That's what we do this podcast for. My impression of the Beatles was, my dad's gonna kill me for saying this, but my impression was from him basically telling me, well, everyone does the Beatles songs better than the Beatles do.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's true either.
That's maybe that's true for Bob Dylan.
Oh.
Did I just drop another hot take?
Not
Oh,
really
you just don't care.
No,
Okay, good.
I don't care at all. Not at all. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. All right, number 3. This is 3. All right, number 3 is going to be this one. I've heard in the last 3 years. Again, is Twerp. It's called Tupperware Remix Party.
Is that what twerp stands for?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And Twerp has a very much late 70s, 80s vibe.
Yeah, they do.
They are they are electronic music, but they are very, what's the word you would say, Mark? I know you've listened to them. I can't really genre define them. They are
They like they seem like they're electronic, but funk.
Funk, definitely.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I mean, like you said, there's like that 70s, 80s rock sound.
Which is
that
disco?
like stadium rock?
Stadium rock. I can give a stadium
That
rock.
that cover album or whatever that they have. I feel like it's a lot of that kind of music. It's been a while
was
since
not
I
them.
listened to them.
Yeah, that
That's
was
not them.
That's Ninja
Is
Sex
that
Party.
Ninja Sex Party.
That was the Proto-Man.
No,
I gave you.
there's definitely one that
You talking about
is.
the Queen cover album that I had listened to?
I don't think so.
What- was
Ninja,
it the-
is it? I think it's. I'm thinking.
Ninja Sex
I think I'm
Party?
thinking of
The
Ninja
album
Sex
of
Party.
covers.
Isn't there a carryover between these groups?
That's
and
their
membership?
band. That's Ninja Sex Party's band, technically.
Is what?
Twerk.
Twerk.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I think I was
We're
thinking
back
of
on
Ninja
track.
Sex Party. We're back on track. Yes, I have listened to Twerk.
Yes.
Yes, and you're right. Yeah, I don't know. I take back the Stadium Rock thing. That does not apply there.
Okay, but they are very techno-ish, not really techno, but electronics, or not techno, because techno gives a bad connotation to a lot of people. They're electronic and funk and R&B and even a
Daft
touch
Punkish?
Daft Punkish. I mean, honestly, yeah. If you want to say if they are a mirror, obviously not as prolific, but they are a mirror of Daft Punk.
That was my almost number 4. Just saying.
Ooh. I didn't
circle back to that.
I didn't list Daft Punk. I wanted to list one of their albums, but I took it off at the last moment because I was just like, I love that album, but it's not for me that great. Anyway,
I love it, but it sucks.
I love it, but it sucks. All right,
But back to Twerk. Oh, or
Twerk.
unless you're done.
Twerk. I love Twerk. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 albums, and they release year to year. So their last album was last year. So they released 5 albums in 5 years. I do believe. I could be slightly wrong about that, but I do believe they released 5 albums.
Very
5 years.
prolific.
And honestly, it's their bass player that gets me, because their bass player plays the hell
Yes.
out of the bass.
I remember when you showed me their music. That was my main takeaway. I was like, I'll never play bass like that.
Like, I love their guitars. I love the vocals. They do a lot of Zapp and Roger style vocal. I mean, they only do Zapp and Roger style vocals, where the voice box and all that.
Right.
But as far as their music playing goes, their bassist, I can't consider him one of the best, but in my eyes, he's like the best bassist I've ever heard, because he just kills it. He just thrashes that bass. I fucking love how he plays bass. Whew. Oh, I love Daft Punk. Daft Punk. I said Daft Punk. Why did I say Daft Punk?
Daft Punk on the brain.
It was on my
just
brain.
so-
I was so
you're
hung
like,
up on
"Woo,
Daft
I
Punk.
just
Just
love the way he
conflated
plays
it
bass."
because we made comparisons to Twerp and
Man.
Daft Punk, so
You're
that
right.
makes sense.
Absolutely
Daft
right.
Punkish.
I love Twerp, and the only reason they're not higher on this list is because my number 2 and 1 are my absolute all-time favorites.
I think I know.
And unfortunately,
I think I know number 1.
I think everybody here knows my number 1. Unfortunately, I can't.
know number
I my number 2 would have been between 2 people, and I knocked the other one off.
Can I guess your number 2?
You can see my list. So
Yeah, I've been looking at it. Am I allowed to guess your number 2, or do you just want to say it?
no, I want you to guess it, because I think I know who you're going to pick.
Well, because I'm pretty sure I know your number 1. Honestly, I thought your number 5 might be like your number 2. I thought it would be Jay-Z, but then you went straight with Jay-Z. I'm gonna guess your number 2 is Michael Jackson.
You would be incorrect.
Oof.
You'd be incorrect, and that would.
Oh, I have a second guess. Well, that's not fair.
No, go for it. I mean, because there's.
Is it Amy Winehouse?
You're also incorrect.
Fuck.
It's Justin Timberlake.
What?
And that's weird. I know it's weird. It's weird. Now, the reason I
I
didn't
didn't think he'd make the cut.
I'm not named after Michael Jackson, but Michael Jackson and I share the same birthday.
Michael.
And I've listened to Michael Jackson.
You have the same birthday?
Yes.
I don't think I realized that.
Exact same
That's
birthday.
really cool.
I've listened to Michael Jackson my entire life. And yes, he is, obviously I've listed him here. He is one of my all-time favorite artists. Mm-hmm. He realistically, and everybody in the world would probably just kill me for this, he realistically has 20 or 30 good songs. That's it.
That's a lot of good songs.
A lot, but considering the amount of albums, the amount of time that he's been out, and everybody considering him the king of pop.
Are you
and-
counting
Yeah, he
the
caught
Jackson 5?
He
at
caught.
all,
Yeah,
or-
about to say, yeah, he caught fire at the right time.
Yes, absolutely. He probably sung one of his best songs with the Jackson 5, but
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't count that.
I don't count that. Which is Who's Loving You. Did I list that? I did not. That's okay. Yeah, I would. So I knocked Michael off the list only because I mean, I've listened to Off the Wall millions of times. I've listened to Dangerous millions of times. Bad and that's a Dangerous. Wow, Bad and Off the Wall. Bad.
Off the Wall is my favorite album.
Really?
Yes. That's the first one I heard. I remember my dad had it on cassette, and I was like, "This is really
Those were the days.
Cassette days. I miss the cassette days. And Thriller. Oh man, I love Thriller. Thriller. I love Thriller. But no, I had to knock them off. And I adore Amy Winehouse.
yeah."
Unfortunately, very short-lived, and she had 2 albums. Now, obviously, that doesn't stop anybody from being your favorites. It doesn't mean anything.
For sure, yeah.
But realistically, in my mind, as I was thinking about it, I was just like, I love Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse, outside of music, is just my favorite person, and I was saddened. She's the only celebrity that I cried when she died.
Wow.
Which, considering my number 1, is weird.
Oh, yeah, I know your number one.
Yeah, you do know. My number 1.
I know. I do.
Yeah, it was obvious to me. It was obvious to me.
So my number 2 is Justin Timberlake, and it's because Justin Timberlake does a lot of what Michael Jackson does, and he puts his hip hop flavor in it. He puts R&B flavor in it. Obviously, he's a pop star, so he does a lot of that, and he throws all of himself into his music.
He's married to Jessica Biel, so he's living the dream.
Yeah. Also, she's kind of an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, maybe not.
I guess everybody has their own choice, but that's weird.
I wasn't aware of that.
Well, yeah, you might want to
remember, celebrities are flawed people.
Yeah, everybody's a flawed person. No, Justin Timberlake, I have loved ever since he broke away from the boy band NSYNC. Every single album he's put out has been stellar, and each of them could have been my absolute favorite albums. Oddly enough, none of them are listed as my favorite albums, but that's just it's a difference of
It's tough to make.
it's
the
tough
cut.
to make that cut, but it's also like it doesn't make sense. My dad would say it doesn't make sense, but I only listen to that music when I'm in a mood,
Yeah.
and that mood is very particular.
Yeah.
So
and I feel like an album can be your favorite album or one of your favorite albums without the artist being one of your favorite artists.
Sure.
That's,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I think I think another way you can do it is basically with those artists, you can differentiate. You can point to, this is when there was a little bit more R&B, this was a little bit more funk, this was a little bit more electronic, and et cetera, et cetera. That's how I look at it. So it actually makes more sense than you think, that sometimes there are just some albums that hit chords.
Yep, absolutely.
Like that hit all the chords all the time, regardless of the situation. And there are some albums that hit those chords only when you're feeling a particular way.
Okay, now we've gone through each of our number 5, 4, 3, and 2. Let's assess. No, let us give our number 1s. Let's start with, we're gonna go in reverse order.
So you start first.
I'll go last, but you're gonna start first.
So that's not reverse order.
Damn it! All right, I'll go first.
I can go first.
No,
it's
I'll go
fine.
first. We're gonna go in reverse order.
No, you just went.
Okay, fine.
I'll go first.
Okay, Mark, who is your number 1? Who is your all-time favorite artist?
Believe this name. I know this name was already dropped. My number 1 is Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi
Hendrix is my favorite artist. Of
Sorry,
all
I
time.
stole his thunder.
No, you didn't steal.
No,
This
you
is
didn't steal it
favorite.
at all. It's my favorite. Yeah. Building off what you said earlier. And kind of another artist like Amy Winehouse we were just talking about. Not around for very long. Not a whole lot of music released, in his lifetime. But I feel like just the influence on music after him, the influence on artists of his time period, just huge. I feel like Eric Clapton was just chasing Jimi Hendrix, has been his entire life, and never catching him. Nobody who's ever chased what he did, I think, has ever really been able to replicate what he did. But, again, and also like talking about music, you like discovered a certain time in your life. Like I think I discovered his music when I was like 12 or 13. Okay. Like, I was just kind of like, you're just kind of like forming, you're really starting to like form an identity, I feel like, at that age. I don't know. Yeah, just that is, honestly, Jimi Hendrix, since I discovered his music, has just always been my number 1. And that probably will never change. I don't know. It could, but I just don't see it ever changing. It's like one of the few things like that I feel like I fluctuate opinions on things quite a bit, as time goes on, but my feelings on his music, I mean the three studio albums with The Experience are just three amazing albums, and then the Band of Gypsies live album is probably my favorite live album. Like those songs are just incredible performances all around. Yeah.
Before you do your number one, so your favorite has one of your favorite live albums, correct?
Yes.
What you just said.
Yeah.
Is your number one? You don't have to tell me who it is yet, because I know you're going next. But do they have a live album that you consider one of your favorites? Not in your list, but consider one of your favorites. Maybe.
I actually have not heard their live album.
Okay.
Not for lack of, and it's just I have to put the effort in to take time to listen to it.
Okay. It's just I found that weird because a lot of people, live music is a very divisive issue. Obviously seeing someone play music, like, oh, I want to be there for the experience and watch them play live. And then, hearing a live album, some people are like, oh, I don't really like live albums. I wanted to be there, kind of.
Some artists are better.
Yeah.
Their live albums better than their studio.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. All right. That was, Jimi Hendrix. I'm not shocked at all.
I know.
It's the rest of your list that some of them I'm like, okay. Huh. Tony, number one.
All right, this was a really easy decision.
Ooh.
For me, anyway. Because it features in my mind one of the best front man in rock and roll. Soundgarden.
Damn it. That's what I was gonna guess. Okay.
This was the band my father introduced me to.
Really?
Mm-hmm. This is the first. It was the first anything grunge related I heard was from Soundgarden, and it was from their album Bad Motorfinger. Everything about it just happened to come at a time. It also came at a really good time. I think I was in middle school when I first heard Soundgarden, and it really stuck to me. And one of their albums I will basically say, I'm going to say later, is one of the best albums I've ever heard. I was really excited when Soundgarden reformed in 2000, I want to say during the 2010s.
I think that's what confused me. So you said your dad introduced you to them and they reformed in 2010. I didn't realize that they reformed. I thought that was the first time they had become.
Yeah, they released the last album they released before King Animal, which was the album they made during the 2010s, was Down on the Upside. Okay. And that was in the 1990s.
Okay.
I got to see Chris Cornell perform live.
Did you now? Wow.
With it's a complicated thing because I went to Lollapalooza 2003 when Audio Slave was in it. It was 2000. Was it 2000? It was either 03 or 04. It had to be one of those years. And it was everything I imagined it to be. The reason why it's mixed is because basically that was the same night my dad had his heart attack, and I found out after the show.
Oh.
That it happened because so you can see how complicated it is.
Yeah.
Just by that.
Yeah.
Of course, I was really looking forward to hear Soundgarden again, but unfortunately Chris Cornell overdosed. And legitimately I didn't cry. I came damn close to it though. Because of what he brought to the table, at least in my mind. Not to mention, again, just to show you that it doesn't, like any sort of mental health issues just transcends class or celebrity or anything of that nature. And of course, not too long after that, Chester Bennington killed himself. Right. Because...
That'll come into play with mine. Not my favorite number, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, it shook me basically how he felt so connected to Chris Cornell that basically he's like, I can't keep going.
It's a very interesting thing. Like then hitting hard topics now. It's a very interesting thing that money doesn't always mean happiness, obviously. Now, a lot of us, I mean, we here are not very wealthy people. And most of the world, clearly not very wealthy people. Mm-hmm. And money does not cure everything because you have to take care of yourself, your own mental capacity, and everything you do in your life. You should take care of yourself first.
Yeah, just everything about the band. Everything about the band hitting the right notes. And truth be told, I'm not a particular big fan of Down on the Upside, the last album in the 90s, but Bad Motorfinger and Super Unknown were really phenomenal albums. And King Animal, the one they released in the 2010s, was a really good evolution of where they took their sound, because it didn't stay grounded in grunge. It kind of like tried to bring grunge in. It tried to bring parts of grunge into the 2010s, while at the same time kind of remixing that sound into modern times. But that's Soundgarden's is my number one artist band, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right. Simultaneously, I want you both to say my number one. 1, 2, 3.
Prince.
This is the obvious thing. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm
There he is on the
a
wall.
super
There's a symbol.
super Prince fan. I am
Yeah.
I am Prince fan through and through. I grew up with Prince. I was born to not to
Prince.
born to Prince. No, I was born the year my favorite album came out. Of his, sorry, my favorite album of his came out. That was almost Freudian slip. Which is Sign of the Times, which is also, I've been debating with my father, is also, I guess, his best album, which is weird to say because I thought that was just a niche album. Anyway, Prince, I was born in 1987. Prince started making music in 1979. And every album from 1979 up until 1999 with, I believe, Gold, was like the number one album of the year every single time you release an album.
Wow.
And like that's just like, and mind you,
Shit,
he released an album every single year from I think 1984 through 2000. He released an album every single year.
Wow.
So yeah, that's impressive to say the least. No, Prince.
I guess I should listen to more Prince.
I gave you Prince.
I know.
Prince is. It's obvious to see because when you talk about greatness, like you hear people like Michael Jordan and people, I'll say Barry Bonds, even though he's a steroid user, but they have this stigma, not stigma. They have this feeling about them that they know something that everyone else doesn't. Mm-hmm. And when they do something, it's like I'm doing the best of anyone could do. And when you saw Michael Jordan play, it's like Michael Jordan is on a whole nother level. When you saw Barry Bonds up the bat, and you saw that he could see where every pitch was going, no matter where it was going, and he knew when to stay off and when to hit. Prince was the best at every instrument that he touched. Now, obviously, that's opinionated because everyone thinks, who someone's the best bassist player, someone's the best drummer, someone's the best guitarist, so on and so forth. But my favorite quote about Prince was from Eric Clapton, whom, when he was being interviewed, someone asked him, so how does it feel to be the best bass player in the world? And he said, I don't know, you have to talk to Prince. Which I thought was the most...
Guitar, you mean?
Yes, guitar. Sorry, yes, guitarist.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the most glowing praise anybody
Wow.
could ever
Eric
give.
Clapton's, damn, yeah.
And I thought that was the most amazing thing someone could say about another person. And Prince playing guitar, Prince playing bass, Prince playing drums, which he doesn't do very often, and Prince singing is just top tier for me. It's just nobody breaks it. Nobody beats it. It's just it's amazing. I love Prince.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll remember is that Prince. It's like Prince fell off like the face of the earth from pop charts. At least like in the 90s, like after 1999 or when Doves Cry, one of those older songs.
Way older. He fell off. I believe in 2000 he made a bad album on purpose, which is a very a choice to be made. Called The Vault.
Why did he do that?
Because he was trying to get out of a contract.
Oh.
So his last album under contract with oh my god, I can't remember who. I can't remember the name of the recording company. But anyway,
Columbia.
I don't think it was Columbia.
Just a guess.
He was trying to get. He released the Gold Experience, where he wrote "Slave" on his face for that album, and then the very next album he released the worst album he could possibly make. I don't know if he did that on purpose, honestly, but he tried. He wanted to get out and be on his own, and then he released "Emancipation," which was afterwards. Anyway. Yeah, so he fell off the face of the earth after 1999 because he released the Vault.
Year, not the song.
The year, not the song. Yes, correct. Released in 19. Anyway,
Yeah, but either way, but when he performed on the Super Bowl, he performed in the Super Bowl.
that was
Oh, yeah.
2008.
Yeah, either way, I was like, holy shit! I was like,
He hadn't been making music, a lot of music through that point. He was
We're releasing it.
he wasn't releasing music through that point. He was trying to foster some musical acts. The 3121 or Third Eye Blind, I think is the name of the group.
really?
I think so. Or Third Eye Girl, something like Third Eye Blind, Third Eye Girl. I don't remember.
Third Eye Blind is like an alt rock band like from the '90s. So
Third Eye Girl. Yeah, he was trying to foster talent. He wasn't really making much music. He did make a couple albums after. He didn't make many albums after his emancipation, if you will. But he made a couple that were not his best, but still pretty damn good.
But either way, it's just it was like at the point where it just had been so long, but when he just started shredding, I'm like, holy shit! It's like it's like it had been. How long has it been since I've seen Prince play?
That man knows how to make a guitar sing, to say the least. Okay, we're going to name our top three. They don't have to be. You don't have to name your number one. We're not doing.
Oh, man.
Top 3 songs and top 3 albums.
I did not prepare this well for this.
How did you prepare? Well,
I just kind of listed
I'll
shit.
adjust to how you prepared.
I just listed a ton of songs and albums. Let me you do some talking and I'll
This is good. It seems like this is like good for freewheeling, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm just gonna freewheel it and name some albums.
So here's what I'm gonna do.
songs.
Here's what I'm gonna do, boys. All right, I'll let you go ahead and do. You can't go into deep discussion with each of the songs or albums, but you can do a few. So we'll do 10.
Oh, okay.
So you can tell me 10. Tell me your 10 favorite song, 10 of your favorite songs. You know what I'm saying? And then we can talk about a few of them. All right. Everybody understand?
Right.
Everybody good? Okay.
You just made it harder.
How did I make it harder?
List
You
3
said
of
you
your
listed
favorite albums. Now list 10 of your favorite
You
albums.
said you listed
in
a
your
bunch.
Yeah, but I don't have them in any sort of like.
You don't have to list them. You don't have to put them in any order. I just want you to tell me your favorites.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pick a random amount.
I
and
think
say
the
that.
point here is basically you have that information on hand right now. It's just gonna be a lot harder.
It's not collated.
Neither am I.
collated.
Is that the right term?
Is that the right term? I don't think it's the right term. Anyway, no, I have 10 albums here and 15 songs. No, 12 songs. And I'm only going to probably give you 5 of each.
Yeah.
But that's just me personally. So,
okay.
So you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And tell
Yeah.
me. So tell me 10
All
of your
right, man.
favorite albums. And 10
Oh,
of
am I
your
going
favorites.
first?
You're going first.
Okay, I think I already mentioned it. For Rolling Stones, my favorite album of theirs is Exile on Main Street. Which I think they wrote. They were living in like Spain or something at the time because they were. I don't know if they were like evading taxes. I don't know what the hell was going on.
Like
there
doing
was
like a
something
John
weird-
McAfee or something.
There was something weird with the way like the tax system was going on in the UK at the time. I don't know all the details.
London calling.
Let's see. What?
London calling.
That's hilarious. You just said that because I was literally just gonna say that album. Wait, did you read my list or
No.
did you just say that?
So it's
I was like
Clash.
glancing at my
The
list.
Clash, right?
Yes. So I didn't mention them in the top 5 or anything. They're not in my top 10, but I do really like The Clash. It's like the only punk band that like I've really like ever got into. And yeah, that album is amazing. My favorite song on that album is The Guns of Brixton. Which is The Guns of Brixton, which their bassist is the lead singer on, which he's not normally sing, but it's a really great song. Let's see, for Pink Floyd, I named them already, but Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall are all great albums. Oh wait, I'm going to list like way too many.
It's fine, go for it.
Let's see, for Daft Punk, Discovery is an amazing album, and also for live albums, the 2007 album Alive, there's a earlier one as well, is also an amazing live album where they like mash up like their songs. It's such a good album.
I love that.
The Robot Rock, I can't remember, it's Robot Rock and something else. I think it starts the album.
I think it's
off.
Around the
like
World.
So good. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I didn't mention them earlier, but ACDC. The thing about ACDC is
They're Australian.
They only ever wrote one song.
Yes, they're Australian.
That's not the thing, though. They are Australian. Yes, you don't need to look it up. He's right. The thing about AC/DC is they only have one song. They just released it 500 times. The thing is, though, that song is really fucking good.
What is that
Okay, they
song?
probably only have like 3 songs. I guess.
They're like 3 chords,
They
like
have
standard
three
three or
like
4 chord
3
songs.
types of songs. They have like 3 types of songs, and all 3 of those types of songs are so fucking good. But High Voltage, Highway to Hell, and Back in Black are my 3 favorite albums. Theirs. They're another band that I got into around the same time as I got into Jimi Hendrix. So they were like kind of important to, me, I guess. Sure. Why
You
not?
would say shook 'em all night long.
I think I mentioned.
That's a song from the album.
I think
from
I
Black
mentioned earlier. I'm just going all in with this.
Have at it.
I think I mentioned earlier that the Beatles are not like my favorite group or anything. They're not in my top 10 or anything like that. But I do think they have one of the greatest albums of all time, and that is Abbey Road. The second side of that album, which oftentimes gets referred to.
A side is different because a record
Yeah.
and a tape have
Right.
2 different sides.
Yeah.
Unless you happen to be a hipster who knows what records are.
It's often referred to as the Abbey Road medley because each song just kind of leads into the next. Really great, just great stuff, and also has probably the 2 single best or the 2 best songs on that album are Something and Here Comes the Sun, in my opinion, and they're both written by George Harrison, who after the Beatles broke up had my favorite Beatles solo album in All Things Must Pass. Yes, which is an amazing, incredible album. Definitely listen to it if you haven't listened to it before. Let's see. I should probably mention Jimi Hendrix. Pretty much every album that released in his lifetime. That's all I have to say. Yeah, I mean, there's just no, yeah. I already said Songs in the Key of Life and Talking Book are my favorite Stevie Wonder albums. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of all the detail I feel like going into. Okay. Yes, I have more written down, but yeah.
So you hit both songs and albums there. I'm pretty impressed. Just
What?
Rambling off that, or did you just albums? Or am I missing?
Did I name it? I probably named some
I think you
songs.
did
Yeah,
songs and
yeah. I
albums.
listed.
Yeah,
I named
okay.
some
Making
songs too. Yeah.
Didn't want to take off your time because you did
No.
a very good
Oh,
job.
earlier
Running
I
through
said
it.
this is just some reference to Jimi Hendrix. I said you said the Beatles. Your dad said the Beatles. The thing with the Beatles is everyone plays their songs better than they do. And I said no, that's actually Bob Dylan. Reason I said that is because of All Along the Watchtower from Electric Ladyland, which is it's a cover of a Bob Dylan song. And is like, I mean, infinitely, Jimi Hendrix raises that song to like just a whole other, the thing with Jimi Hendrix with his guitar playing and stuff is like in that song, there's like the storm or whatever. I can't remember what the exact lyric is, but like his playing like just begins to replicate like this building of intensity and everything. Like he can build like a soundscape almost with just his guitar and the feedback and all that stuff, which is pretty awesome. Considering the equipment and stuff they're working with in that time period. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not my favorite Jimi Hendrix song. I just don't. I wanted to mention that before I forgot about it.
I enjoyed your time. It was very
Thanks. Yeah.
very informative.
I just kind of
I
went
like that. Just-
again. I
just
fish
went
fire from the hip. That's my
It's really cool.
main way.
I like that.
I'm not good at just like let me list all this out.
It's fine.
I just kind of like ramble for a while, which is what I'm doing right now.
Extemporaneously.
I'm sorry. What?
Extemporaneously speaking.
Did
That's
I
a
miss
dirty word.
anything good? Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Okay. Tony, albums and songs. Go for it.
Yeah, boy. This one might turn out to be a little bit humdrum for me.
Humdrum.
There's so many things I could do. Okay. So, albums. I would say. Well, he basically said any Jimi Hendrix Experience album right there, so basically that covers that.
I was including Band of Gypsies as well. Any album that released in his lifetime.
So that's number 10. Number 9 would be Led Zeppelin 4. Zozo, I think. Zeoso. That has Black Dog. It has Stairway to Heaven. Let's see. I can't think of the other songs on that right now because right now I'm under the gun. I'm like
It's the I know. It's the hard. It's the challenge. Yeah.
For 8, I have to say, if you're looking for Metallica, like a best overall album in my mind at least, it's Master of Puppets.
I heard. Okay.
Then basically,
Never listened to it, by the way.
that's the peak of their speed metal days, I think. Between like the highlights in my mind would be Battery, Master of Puppets, The Thing That Should Not Be. That's when they started incorporating H.P. Love. One of the songs where they inject H.P. Lovecraft imagery into it.
Okay.
Like that's the basic. It wasn't the start. The starting song was the Call of the Cthulhu, which I believe is on Ride the Lightning.
Can you repeat that one? Called what?
The Thing That Should Not Be.
Call of what?
The Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
The Call
Are
of
you
the
not
Cthulhu.
familiar with that? It's a story by H.P. Lovecraft.
You know what? I lost the joke. It's fine. Go ahead.
And one was basically Welcome Home Sanitarium. It's, to tell you the truth, I do think it's actually a presaging of how mental health institutions are, like even in this day and age, or maybe basically feeling like they're stuck inside.
Say that clear one more time into the mic.
Welcome Home Sanitarium.
Okay.
I would say the next one would be the self-titled album, the so-called Black Album, which I think is their best mainstream album. Post Cliff Burton is the bassist. He was their bassist. He was their original bassist before he tragically died in a bus accident. And the first album they did, and Justice for All, while good, not quite great.
Okay.
Though I think one of the songs from there, One, is a fantastic.
The song is named One.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's based off of, I believe it's roughly based off of some sort of media by Dalton Trumbo. He was a guy who was blacklisted during the Red Scare. And it was called Johnny Get Your Gun. And talks about a war veteran who was horribly injured and is basically stuck in a hospital bed, unable to move, and seemingly unable to live a life of his own. And so One basically goes on and describes the struggle in song, obviously. And in my mind, it is the best Metallica song ever made. The next one would be the album Death Magnetic, which is their best album post Jason Newsted as the bass, because right now their current bassist is Robert Trujillo. That goes back to their past. It kind of is a combination of their Master of Puppets sound and the Black Album sound. By the way, Mike, to correct myself, I actually do have a live album to share with you.
Okay.
But the songs that stand out to me was That Was Just Your Life, The Day That Never Comes, All Nightmare Long, Cyanide, My Apocalypse. Just gonna give a trigger warning for people who are depressives. If songs can act as a trigger, don't do it.
Yeah, I know that.
Because this is only something I recently found out, that I do have that issue sometimes. It's just for some reason, but that's I think that's something I'll talk about in something that's more relevant in another. It's basically the scope of what I want to talk about. To elaborate is beyond the scope of this pod and this topic in particular.
Okay.
And speaking of those live albums, have you heard of the S&M albums?
I believe so. I've never heard them. I've never listened to them before. Yes, I've heard of the S&M album. Yes.
Yeah. Funny. Here's a slight funny story. When I first said S&M in public school, this is before I knew that S&M had a slightly different connotation.
Whoops.
Picture that. That was a very innocent time for me. I already mentioned the other songs, like one, but there's also Creeping Death, which is from Ride the Lightning, I believe. It's literally it's literally about when Moses summons the spirit to kill all the firstborn people, firstborn children. That's what Creeping Death is about. Weird. And Fade to Black, again, depressing song. Life It Seems Will Fade Away, getting further every day. Kind of sets the tone of it. Fuel from the Reload album. Also, The Memory Remains, with the old woman singing, and with the old woman in it. Yeah.
You just said the old woman, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm. Okay.
I really wish I could tell you her name. I just don't.
Okay.
And all the Unforgiven songs. The first Unforgiven song, which is in the Black Album, the second, which is in Reload, and the third, which is in Death Magnetic. Let's see. Next one would be Soundgarden. I mentioned Super Unknown. That, in my mind, is one of the best albums ever made. It hits every beat. Basically, My Wave, Fell on Black Days. My Wave is basically this, the tone of the song is basically like jumping. It's like if you hear it, if you listen to it, there's like a jumping guitar song and a sound and a jumping bass sound behind it.
Okay.
It's like doon 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 doo 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 doo. It's like it's catchy as hell. And that kind of catchiness goes into Fell on Black Days. Super Unknown is a comparatively faster song. But it's like, fact is, I wish I could tell you what I think about the lyrics off the top of my head, but I really would need more time to figure that out, so I'm just basically going to say the lyrics in my mind just really stuck out. Everyone who has listened to Soundgarden even remotely knows Black Hole Sun.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the one song I know.
Oh, yeah.
And Spoon Man, where there literally are spoons played in it. The Day I Tried to Live. This actually was recently covered by LaJean Witherspoon from Seven Dust. Fresh Tendrils and Like Suicide. Those are the big standouts for me. There are three other albums that stand out. It's basically Dream Theater. It is another progressive rock band. I couldn't quite put them in the top 5, but I would certainly have them in the top 10.
Okay.
is, I believe, Metropolis Part 2. It is the entire album is edited to be one big song.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I would recommend you listening to it from the beginning to the end, because it really is. It is like the old times when Brahms and Bach made these immense songs.
Yeah.
It is reminiscent of that. It's just, well, across an album instead of basically across multiple songs, so to speak. Oh, I think you could honestly make the case that Beethoven's like numerous orchestras can be tailored together into just one long song, so to speak. Just not of the spoken word variety.
Sure.
Staying with Dream Theater, there's this song called Octavarium. It is a 20-minute song. And it is basically, you could literally just listen to one, and the way the song is broken down, it sounds different every single step.
Okay.
It's like it transitions from an acoustic song to one that's more upbeat and a little bit more heavier, and then all of a sudden changes characteristics entirely. This is one of the reasons, by the way, this is just how I am when it comes to song taste, is that this could be because think pop is a little bit too simple and too saccharine for me sometimes, where I feel like, yeah, we're giving you this, and then we're basically just flipping and reversing it in the other way. Octavarium is like that. And Mike Portnoy's drums are really good. Jordan Rudess is with the synthesizer keyboard, and John Petrucci and John Myung with their guitar, with the guitar and bass, are really good with it. I could take or leave James Labrie. He's the lead. He's the front man of the band. Now this album, in my mind, is from Animals as Leaders. Is physical. I believe it's Physical Education. This is the album I told you about, where basically I could listen to it at any time and not skip the song. Everything about it is just really good for me. Like, it hits chords. And not to mention, it always, instead of basically I have to be in a mood to listen to something, it puts me in the mood. Where basically it flips that, it basically kicks that and flips that up into a certain mood for me. Everything about that album just just hits a lot of chords with me. I don't know the way to explain it. It's also a little bit more in the experimental part. So don't worry if it takes a while to kind of quote unquote adjust to the sound, so to speak. But you'll find something there. There's going to be a lot there.
You will find yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And also, just because I'm kind of on this kick lately, is basically the best modern these are 4 songs from Ghost that I've been listening to. The first one's Miasma. Literally sounds like it's out of a video game. I'm not even kidding. Dance Macabre. I believe those 2 songs, by the way, are from the prequel album, which is all about the Black Plague. And Square Hammer and From the Pinnacle to the Pit. That has a really good bass line. And there's also the French death metal or metalcore. I'm not sure what it is, but Gojira. It's Flying Whales, The Shooting Star, The Art of Dying, Born in Winter. They also just recently released another album, Fortitude, I think that's what it's called, with Amazonia and Into the Storm, I think. And I think that should cover it for me.
Okay. It's a very extensive list. Things I'm going to have to go back to and listen to on my own.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff.
Because there's a lot of stuff you said that I have no idea about.
Yeah, but the way you talked about, I'm like, some of that sounds kind of interesting. I'm definitely gonna.
I feel like I didn't articulate myself.
No, you did
as
fine.
well.
You did
yeah,
well.
honestly,
it's just Mark and I don't have the scope of music that you have. We have a less.
Hey, well, I got a pretty big scope over here. What do you?
No,
We
it's
have a very less rock centric.
I'm not very familiar with most of the groups you're talking about, so I don't have anything that I can particularly add to what you're saying.
Right, same.
But the way you're talking about them and the things you're saying make me interested in their sound. Yeah. So definitely I'm gonna come back to this and look for these recommendations.
Yeah, it's just more like I like to analyze things, but at the same time, I don't feel like I can say. I feel like, number one, even if I could articulate that analysis, sometimes I feel like that's kind of setting expectations a certain way. So I think that makes it a little bit difficult for me sometimes to explain what I'm thinking, because I'm thinking probably too analytical about. I usually think too analytical about things in general, so of course that tracks.
My favorite thing to do is just find somebody really smart who's said some good analysis and say it enough times myself that I've convinced myself that it was my idea.
Asshole.
You see, I'm still trying to organically put that together in my head. That just means I need better notes. That actually is true.
I don't know. I thought you did fine because I'm not going to do as well as that. I'm gonna start spewing some albums and songs here, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, well, sure, whatever. That sounds.
Spew away.
Sorry, I didn't get the spew back in. Okay,
You good there?
I'm good. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna name some of my favorite albums. 5 of my favorite albums. I have 10 listed here, so I'm just gonna narrow it down to 5. One of my absolute favorite albums is a live album from The Roots. It's called The Roots Come Alive, where they played in England and several parts of New York, them being a Philadelphia-based rap band, which is weird. They're a full band and rappers.
I think I listened to this album recently because I had just had it on in the background kind of thing. Because I was like, I should listen to The Roots because I've never really listened to The Roots, and I'm like, this seems like something I would enjoy.
Absolutely.
And I liked it, but I wasn't closely listening to it, so I should definitely go back.
The Roots are a bridging of the gap between a I don't want to say punk rock, but a rock world and the rap world. I think that was almost the start of, not the start, because we obviously had Run DMC and Aerosmith, if my mind is remembering.
Yeah, Walk This Way.
Okay. For a second, I thought I had a stroke there. I wasn't sure if that was the right song. You obviously had that back in the 80s, but I think the Roots for the modern times are the bridging of the gap between hip-hop and rock. They tried. I don't know that it worked out very well, but they tried. So that's one of my...
They're on your top 5?
No, in generally speaking. I feel as though obviously everyone's feelings are different. So I feel. For you though. Yeah,
for
me.
I like their collaboration they did with John Legend.
Yes. They collaborated with. I think I don't want to say that they made John Legend popular, but they kind of did make John Legend popular. Anyway.
Thanks. I'm just kidding. I have nothing against
Thanks,
John
Obama.
Legend.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Ouch.
It's just a joke.
Thanks, Obama.
Another of my favorites, which is a very recent favorite, is Twerp, Together Through Time. Again, Twerp being the Daft Punk style, funk style band, they just, music as a whole, they made me appreciate music as a whole just based on the bass playing of that of their band. I fucking love Twerp. I cannot articulate nearly as well as Tony or Mark, but all I can say is they are fucking amazing. And I think that everyone should listen to Twerp. They're an indie Canadian band, but they are amazing. I would say...
It's electro funk. Would that be a good way?
That is a perfect way to put it. Electro funk.
That's what they are.
Electro funk. I like that. All right, electro funk.
We got it. 45 minutes later.
Is that 45 minutes, really?
I don't know.
I cannot read that far. Okay. After Twerp, I would say a favorite of mine would be, I'm going to go in top 5 here. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd.
Wow.
Now,
Did not expect that.
this is going to shock you. Much like the Beatles, I've never listened to Pink Floyd before 2 years ago.
We're just two.
It doesn't shock me.
Really? So
Not
the
really.
Beatles shocked you, but that didn't?
We're just
Yeah.
two lost souls
Yeah.
swimming in a fish bowl,
I
year after year.
they're 4 albums. So you said
Well,
Wish
they have a lot more than that.
But no, I know, but you said
The
after a certain
4
point.
I listed as their
The
it's
big
generally
four?
considered
Animals, The
their
Wall, Wish You Were
well in
Here.
order it's Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, and The Wall.
And I listened to those in
In
that order.
it's chronological order.
I listened to those in that order, recommended by a friend of mine, or ours. Sorry.
Yes.
I listened to them in that order and was dumbfounded. And I went to my father and said, "Why didn't you introduce me to this band a long time ago?
In an accusatory tone.
What did I do to deserve not to listen to them all my life?" I Pink Floyd, like, again, at least those 4 albums, because I haven't listened to anything past those 4 albums, honest to God.
You don't have to. Before is good. There's some great stuff before that.
They skyrocketed very quickly to being one of my absolute favorites. And
That's cool.
I love their music without a shadow of a doubt. And it's weird. And I think the reason I never listened to Pink Floyd.
Definitely need to listen to Echoes. You'll hear.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, you'll
Remind me
like
again after we're done this. I always consider them odd to put it this way because it's not a negative connotation, but growing up it had a negative connotation to me. I've always considered them a stoner band, basically. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well,
I
all
actually
the stoners
would.
listen to that.
It's psychedelic.
Yeah.
It's real. Yeah.
And that's,
They're actually stoner rock and psychedelic rock are two distinct genres, actually.
I would say growing up that's what steered me away from actually listening to them. My parents, my father, who's the one who really has me vested in music as a whole, never got me close to them at all. Like, we were always an R&B and hip hop centric household. We were very much Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind and Fire, and Stevie Wonder and hip hop, which is just sparse throughout the world or at time. But I never really dove into any kind of rock whatsoever. Like, my dad loves Stone Temple Pilots, and that's about it. And we never really got anywhere else after that for rock.
And I mean, Tony talked about some progressive bands, I believe, and kind of talked about like the whole, like album as a song kind of thing. And Pink Floyd kind of does that too. There's movements to the music
Absolutely.
and everything like
Especially
that.
The
And
Wall
it builds
and,
on itself. And,
sure.
oh my God, The Wall. Yeah, absolutely. Very theatrical and all that. But all 4 of those albums, you're doing yourself a disservice if you never listen to them front to back.
And I think that's
like picking one song out here and there. You can do that, but like at some point, it's like, you should listen to them front to back to get that experience.
somewhere along the lines, I think people started to listen to music very differently. I think that the idea of listening to an album front to back is very strange nowadays.
Yeah.
Because it's because of living in the Spotify and you
Sure, but I
you
think-
basically you could.
I do think a lot of artists still
think
write them that way.
Before even Spotify and iTunes rather, and all that, I think everyone was like, "No, I'm not going to sit and listen to this whole album. I'm just going to skim
Well,
through
they're
and
piecemeal.
listen." Yeah, piecemeal.
That's
Yeah.
why you could buy stuff. That's why you could buy back in the day iTunes one song from an album here and there. You could pick and choose.
I think you still do that. And I know it would, but yeah, I think you still do that. Yeah, I just think it's strange that people don't really listen to albums, like, and to that degree, artists don't really make albums anymore. Like, an artist making a full concept album is one thing, but just making a full album of, all right, I'm going to make 17 to 20 songs about what's going on in my life today, and I'm going to play them the way I want. No one does that much anymore. They're just like, well, someone made this beat for me or someone made this melody for me. I'm just going to sing something over it and put it on my next album. That's kind of how people do things now. It's kind of sad.
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's completely true. I don't know.
Really? Yeah. I kind of feel it's that way. That I think that's how music is nowadays.
With that said, I do think it does speak to the fact. It does speak to the concern that the way that the current music pricing model is working is probably far too profitable for the distributors or Spotify,
I
and
think
not
Spotify
for the artists.
and Apple are killing music. Honestly, I do. I listen to all my music on Spotify, and I listen to my personal collection on Apple Music.
And now for an ad break. This podcast is brought to you by Spotify.
I thought you were going to finish that. I wish I had something written out so you could read it. No, I mean, I do believe they're. I think it's because of the way that they're paying their artists, the artist rather, is killing music. Not necessarily the piecemeal way of listening to music or how. I just think, if you're not paying the big artist, well, I mean, if you're only paying the big artist the money for 100 million plays or whatever, and then this indie artist gets 1 million plays, it's like, well, I got 5 cents, and it's like that's shitty. That's super shitty.
Yeah.
One would say it's causing the musical middle class to disappear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very sad. All right, so my last two, I would say number 2, theoretical number 2, it would be Reanimation by Linkin Park. That is the remix album of Hybrid Theory and some of their older music too, which I wasn't a full-blown fan of Linkin Park. Like a few friends of mine in high school were listening to Linkin Park, and I was like, oh, that's that rock band that has that rapper guy, whatever. Okay, whatever. And then I heard Reanimation, and my total impression of them was completely flipped upside down. I think that Michael Hahn is a great DJ, not the best DJ, but I think he's amazing. I think that Mike Shinoda is one of the most underrated people to do music. Period. Like he's a genius and will almost never be recognized for it, which really, really sucks. And obviously you have
Fort Minor,
who from Mike Shinoda and Styles and Beyond and so on and so forth. And also I lost my train of thought. Chester Bennington's unfortunate passing from suicide and depression they played a lot into my later high school life, and I said before that there are some songs and artists I listen to, when I'm in the mood. I think that Reanimation, when I'm in the mood, I'm in the mood, Mark. I'm in the mood. Anyway, Reanimation is the album that I listen to when I just need to get shit off my chest. Like it is every bit of emotion just has to get out of me, and this is how I get it out of me. And I love that album with so much passion. And number 1 in quotes would be "Come" by Prince. Come. Yes. And it's exactly what you think.
Sorry, Prince.
You're not wrong. Come. But you're not wrong, though, because that's exactly what the song is about. It's just not spelled that way.
Wait, what?
Album. Sorry, album. That's exactly what that
it's
album
about
is
it?
about.
Oh,
Yes.
really? Oh, wow.
It's an entire album about sex.
Oh, shit.
Except for one song.
Wow. You're not wrong, Mark.
You're not wrong, Mark. You're not wrong. Yeah, that entire album is basically about sex, except for one song, which is about his father and abuse.
Oh, shit.
Wow, that was a heavy drop there.
Flip. Anyway, I just love Prince. I mean, there's really not much I can say about, because it's
We know.
No, just stop talking about Prince already. God. It's my favorite album. It kind of hit me in a different way because my dad. This is gonna sound weird. My dad's favorite album was Dirty Mind, which is also an album about sex, and said it hit him in the right way because at the time he listened to it, he was like, "Oh, I understand everything that's going on in this album." Go fuck yourself.
I know that move.
I know that move. It kind of hit me in the same way when I was listening to "Come," because it's like, oh, I get it. I understand. So that's, yeah. As far as songs go, I'm just going to list a few songs here. I think of the songs that I have listed here, I can't list a number 1 favorite, but if I had to list a number 1 favorite, it would be "Inner City Blues" by Marvin Gaye.
You're just listing. Yeah.
Yeah, did we not do that?
I didn't really go deep into songs when I was talking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, then
he did, so you're more than welcome to.
I'll go off with my songs. I think one of my absolute all-time favorite songs is "Inner City Blues" by Marvin Gaye. The intro to that song, the song has relevance today, talking about war and taxes and racism and so on and so forth. But the introduction of that song, the bass and bongos and piano and guitar, the start of that song makes me shudder every single time, no matter when and how I hear it. It could be on the speakers at work, and I'm like, oh my god, there it is. It could be in my headphones. It could be just pop on the TV right now. It's like, oh my god, it just that song just hits.
Yeah.
It hits so hard, and I love that song so much. Another song would be "Darling Nikki" by Prince. That's another song that it is kind of about sex and a one night stand essentially. It's
A lot of Prince songs are about sex.
You know what?
You're not wrong.
Considering his religious background too, all the more surprising. Was a JW, wasn't he?
Isn't that Michael
after the
Jackson?
fact.
Oh, wait.
Oh, so this came later in life.
Yes, he
Okay.
was a JW after I think we'll say like 2002ish. He started doing that. Maybe 2000 he started doing that. Yeah, he was. Yeah. It was after he was doing it. It was why he stopped doing a lot of his songs because like, well, it's against my religion now. It's like, well, all your good songs now you can't play. It sucks. Darling, I love Darling Nikki, and man, I have nothing I can say about that. I just love Darling Nikki. The last thing that I'll mention here before I hand it over to Mark to give some of his songs. A favorite song of mine in the past 10, 20 years has been "Skin I'm In" by Cameo. Because of the racial implications that it tells and talking about how it's a different life for Black people to live just walking down the street, and it's just a very, very powerful song, and I recommend anyone who is or isn't Black or isn't a minority in general to
everybody.
Everybody, yeah, sure. Why not? I recommend everybody to listen to "Skin I'm In," and it will maybe give you some insight into why Black people feel the way they feel. Mark, some songs.
I guess I did kind of talk about
You did, but
I'm looking at my list now. I'm like, yeah, I talked about
just ramble off a few more before we cut this off.
Just cut me off mid sentence.
And thank you for listening.
I didn't expect it that quickly. No, because I'm realizing like, oh, I've talked about a bunch of this stuff throughout this. Yeah, I've been kind of name dropping stuff. I do think "Echoes" by Pink Floyd. I know
I've
said
got
it
to listen to
5
that.
times now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's for me. It's like where it's at the end. It's the last song on the album Meddle, Meddle, which is, I think there's an album after that, but it's like a soundtrack for a movie. I think I've never listened to it. So their next like studio album then is Dark Side of the Moon. So I feel like Echoes kind of like sets up the trajectory for the band.
Oh, really?
After that, so I feel like it's like a prologue. It's a prologue to Dark Side. Wish You Were Here.
Was
Animals.
Echoes their first release?
No. They had albums before that. I don't know. For me, it's like a prologue to that like period of their career. It really, for the album "Wish You Were Here," I feel like just listen to the whole album. Like every song on that's great.
It's on my list. "Wish You Were Here" is fucking great.
Yeah, all like there's only 5 songs, but like
5 very long songs.
Yeah, some of them are very long, but like they're all great. Jimi Hendrix, like I'm not gonna read off a list of because like it's literally like fucking it's ridiculous.
Tender.
But I mean, I'm just gonna mention one that I haven't mentioned before because to me I feel like, and the song "Little Wing" I feel like is just a perfect encapsulation of Jimi Hendrix because I feel like it just kind of like it comes in, It's like a 1:45 song. It's a great song though. It's like an unforgettable song, I feel like. And to me that just like it defines like him. Like it literally is like it's from his second album, but like it just I feel like the song just kind of like defines like his career and everything. Like kind of just here and then before you know it he's gone.
I have a question. Have you listened to Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of it?
No, I don't think I have.
That's something to look for, as well as Voodoo Child.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes, I have heard his version of Voodoo Child. Yeah,
it is
which
ridiculous.
is another one worth mentioning. Yeah. Moving on. Oh, I didn't mention them at all, but I do really like the Temptations. One of my favorite Motown groups.
Marvin Gaye was in that, wasn't he?
No.
Okay.
But just name a couple songs I really like of theirs. "I Wish It Would Rain," "I Can't Get Next to You," "I Know I'm Losing You" is a really good one. And then there's obvious stuff like "My Girl," "Ain't Too Proud to Beg," all that. But yeah, just named a couple, off the top. Yeah, I talked about the songs, some of the Beatles songs I'm really into. Again, honestly, a couple of them are George Harrison songs, which he was not as prolific of a writer for them because Paul McCartney and John Lennon kind of very dominating powers in that group. But George Harrison, especially near the end there, had some... also, Taxman is another George Harrison written Beatles song that's very good. He didn't have a lot, but he had some real bangers. Okay. Yeah. And then I'm looking at, I'm like, yeah, I talked about that. I talked about those. Yeah. What's this? Oh, you want me to do the? I'm gonna do the. I get to do the outro.
We're gonna do the
Where do I
thing.
start reading? So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's things we've forgotten. Maybe at some time in the future we'll kind of come back to this topic.
More likely.
Yeah.
Because music is definitely something that you kind of like. It grows with you. You grow with it. And
Yeah,
opinions
it
change,
is.
and you
It is a
discover
living
new
entity.
things.
Absolutely.
And I'm not usually into that meta stuff. It is music is a living entity.
For sure, yeah. So with all that being said, thank you for joining us in this You're Not Wrong. As of right now, we do not have a set release or recording schedule, but look forward to hearing from us next time in the coming weeks. Be sure to like this podcast and share it with your friends. That way, if you liked what you heard, we can see that and have more of an incentive to do this more frequently.
Thank you for joining us.
Indeed.